Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 16 female, have been living with my grandparents since I was 10. My mom essentially dumped me at their house after she married her new husband, Rick, deciding that her new life didn't have room for me. Now, 6 years later, she's had twins and is demanding I move back in to babysit them. When I refused, she offered therapy to fix our relationship, but it completely backfired when the therapist didn't side with her. To give you some background, I've never met my dad. My mom had me when she was 18, and my father was out of the picture before I was even born. Growing up, it was just the two of us, and while I wouldn't say we were super close, I thought we had a good enough relationship. She worked a lot to support us, so I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. They were like second parents to me, always stepping in when my mom couldn't be around. When I was around 9, my mom met Rick. At first, I was happy for her. She seemed excited and genuinely happy, which was something I hadn't seen in a long time. I thought maybe this relationship would be good for both of us. I always missed my father figure in my life. But from the moment Rick entered the picture, things started to change. Rick was polite enough at first, but there was always this underlying tension whenever I was around. He treated me like an outsider, someone he had to tolerate rather than accept. If I voiced an opinion about anything, he'd dismiss it with a condescending laugh or a comment like, "Kids don't really understand these things." As their relationship progressed, my mom began prioritizing Rick over everything else, including me. She'd cancel plans with me to spend time with him, and if I ever expressed that I felt left out, she'd accuse me of being difficult or jealous. When they got married, things came to a head. My mom sat me down and told me that she and Rick needed to focus on building their new life together, and that it would be better for everyone if I stayed with my grandparents for a while. She promised it was temporary and that she'd come get me once they were settled. I was devastated. I couldn't understand how my mom could just leave me behind like that. My grandparents, of course, took me in without hesitation and have been nothing but loving and supportive. But my mom never came back for me. She visited occasionally, called every once in a while, and sent birthday gifts. But our relationship became superficial at best. It felt like I was a distant relative, not her daughter. Fast forward to now. My mom and Rick just had twins, a boy and a girl. A few weeks before they were born, my mom called me, sounding more excited than I'd heard her in years. She told me about the babies and then said, "I was thinking, now that the twins are coming, it would be a great time for you to move back in. We need your help, and it'll be a wonderful opportunity for you to bond with your new siblings." I was stunned. She wasn't asking me, she was telling me, as if it were a foregone conclusion that I'd drop everything and come running. I told her no. I'm happy living with my grandparents. I'm doing well in school, and I have no intention of uprooting my life to become a free babysitter for kids she chose to have. She got angry, saying I was being ungrateful and selfish. She reminded me that she's my mother and that family helps each other out. I shot back that family doesn't abandon each other, and if she needed help, she could hire a nanny. That's when she suggested therapy. She said we needed to work through our issues, and that I was clearly holding on to unnecessary resentment. I reluctantly agreed, thinking maybe it would help her see things from my perspective. The first therapy session was a disaster. The therapist asked us to talk about our relationship and why I lived with my grandparents. My mom tried to spin it as her doing what was best for me, but when I explained how it felt to be left behind so she could start a new life with Rick, the therapist didn't take her side. The therapist gently pointed out that my feelings of abandonment were valid, and that it was important for my mom to acknowledge how her actions had affected me. My mom immediately got defensive. She said, "I did what I had to do. She was better off with my parents than being in a chaotic house while I was figuring things out." The therapist tried to explain that while her intentions might have been good, the impact on me was still significant. My mom didn't want to hear it. She accused the therapist of being biased and stormed out of the session. Afterward, she called me and doubled down on her demands. She said I was being dramatic and ungrateful, and that I needed to get over the past. She said the twins are my siblings, and that it's my responsibility to help out. I told her that I don't owe her anything and hung up. Since then, she's been texting me nonstop. Her messages alternate between guilt-tripping me and trying to bribe me. She offered to buy me a new phone, give me a bigger room in their house, and even pay me to babysit. But I don't want her money. I want her to respect my decision and stop trying to force me into a role I never asked for. Rick has also chimed in, texting me to say how disappointing it is that I won't support my mom during such an important time. He said I was being selfish and immature, and that I needed to grow up. My grandparents are firmly on my side. They've told my mom to stop pressuring me and that I'm not moving back in, but she won't let it go. I feel like I'm being dragged into a situation I never wanted to be part of. I love my grandparents. I'm happy where I am, and I don't see why I should sacrifice my stability to clean up the mess my mom created. So, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for refusing to move back in with my mom to help her with her twins, after she abandoned me years ago? OP's mom abandoned OP when OP was a child and decided to prioritize her new husband over her own daughter. Now, years later, she's trying to guilt-trip OP into becoming a built-in babysitter for kids she chose to have. That's not how family works. OP is not responsible for her choices, and it's not OP's job to help her with her children. I bet handling twins is not easy. Good on OP for standing her ground, and OP's grandparents for supporting OP through this. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. Your mom clearly doesn't understand how much damage she caused when she left you with your grandparents. She can't just waltz back into your life, demand you move in, and expect you to be thrilled about it. Therapy was a great idea on paper, but it sounds like she wasn't ready to face the truth about her actions. Her storming out of the session shows she's more interested in controlling you than actually fixing your relationship. You're absolutely right to stay where you're happy and supported. Wow, your mom has some nerve. Not the a-hole. She made her priorities clear when she dumped you at your grandparents' house and started her new life. Now she wants to use you as a nanny because it's convenient for her? Absolutely not. Her trying to bribe you with money and gifts just shows how little she understands the real issue. It's not about babysitting. It's about the fact that she abandoned you and refuses to take accountability for it. Stay with your grandparents. They seem like the real parents in this situation. Not the a-hole. Your mom and Rick sound incredibly entitled. They chose to have twins, so they need to figure out how to handle the responsibilities that come with that. You're 16. You should be focusing on your education and your own future, not being dragged into their chaos. The fact that Rick is calling you selfish when he's part of the reason you were pushed out of your mom's life is laughable. Stick with your grandparents. They're the real MVPs here. I entered a raffle 18 months ago and won a house in my name. I wasn't expecting to win, and the house is worth a few bob, so as you can imagine, I'm over the moon since I paid a couple of quid for the entry. It's tucked away in Wales, where I will never settle or live. I'm in south of England, but I entered on a whim, and as I say, wasn't really expecting to win. I'm in my 40s and have some younger half-siblings, all of whom I love very much and would like to care for. My stepdaughter is a similar age and is pregnant. She was raised in a very stable home with love and attention to her education from both her dad and mom. However, at present, she isn't working because of MH issues. She doesn't have her own home and has moved in with her out-of-work boyfriend, who we think has overstayed his visa. So, really, I understand she is in a precarious position. I was never especially close with her because she resented I was with her dad. No cheating or anything. She just felt I was in the way, as kids often do. Despite me trying very hard to form a relationship with her. I can't have my own bio children, and was very keen to gain a daughter, friend, but life circumstances have meant it's been hard to relate to her or her to me. When I found out about the house, I wanted to gift it to my younger two siblings. Both work from home and would love the house. They had zero advantages growing up. In fact, due to their mom being a piece of crap, I feel they had more disadvantages, and they live in a rough area of London at present. I think they deserve it, and they'd love it. Husband and I have no inclination to move, and we could sell it on, but we don't want to right now. My stepdaughter, on the other hand, is extremely well connected and has lots of benefits that have helped her along. And although I empathize with her MH struggles and pregnancy, I also know that she will hopefully be fine. My husband is already supporting her with a large allowance each month, as well as her mom. She called me after months of not properly speaking to me to ask if she can move in. I had discussed earlier with my husband the plan for the house, to which he agreed, and was surprised. I said she's not getting the house. She was pretty shocked and said she's pregnant, and the house is literally right there, and why would I stop her from having a good head start? I tried to gently explain to her, but the conversation got more and more heated, with eventually her pulling her dad into it. Somehow during the end of this conversation, both my husband and stepdaughter were crying and asking me to reconsider, saying I was being heartless and possibly even cruel by not. I honestly feel very frustrated and probably quite bitter. She was happy to not talk to me for months despite me reaching out multiple times. But the moment I have something she wants, it's, "Oh, hi Leslie, how are you?" I just feel even more like I want to dig my heels in at this point. Not the a-hole, though I suspect your spouse isn't being genuine with you. Do me a favor, lease it for £1 a month to your siblings. Keep ownership in case your marriage falls apart. Not the a-hole, and do not cave in on this. Let your siblings live there and be caretakers of the place in your stead. This girl is entitled, presumptuous, self-centered, and rude. You owe her nothing. And as another thing to think about, if you let this girl live there, her entitlement would just keep spiking. Any little thing about the place and she'd be calling you. Baby's room isn't nice enough. You need to paint it. The tub isn't big enough. You need to get a better one in here. I want better furniture. You should buy it for me. And I wouldn't be surprised if she eventually thought of the place as hers and wanted to sell it because she needs the money and then had a fit when you said no. Keep your firm no in place on this one or you'll sorely regret it. No good deed goes unpunished, and you'd pay for it dearly if you let her live there. Not the a-hole. The house is not literally right there. It's spoken for. Your husband knows this. You and he need to have a serious conversation on why he's enabling his daughter's entitlement, or where she might have gotten the idea that she was ever part of your considerations for what to do with the house in the first place. I, 29, married my stepdaughters, 17, father, 40, 3 years ago. Ever since day one, I've struggled to connect with her. She's always been the only girl in her father's life, as her mother passed away when she was young. Needless to say, she had a hard time when her father got a girlfriend and then a new wife. I've tried where I could, but for the past 5 years total of our relationship, I've been subjected to a lot of anger and disrespect, and she gets even more resentful if her father takes my side. I tried to find a fun bonding activity under my husband's request, and so this morning I took her to a specialty hot sauce store because she loves spicy food and pretends to be some expert. I hate spicy food, and I have cracks in my tongue. But I figured she could mostly enjoy this herself, and I would watch her taste. We each picked a sauce for tasting. She said mine was terrible because it was the most mild they had, and it was too sweet. She even laughed at me for being a baby. She then tested hers and seemed absolutely unaffected. She said she picked the one that wasn't spicy at all, and that it had really good flavors in it. After a lot of pressuring from her, particularly about how I was supposed to be bonding with her, I made the mistake and tried it. Turns out, the sauce had the spiciest pepper, Carolina Reaper, in it, and was one of the spiciest available for testing. I was in so much pain I thought I was going to die. She laughed at me while the clerk in the store brought me something to help with the pain. It was absolutely terrible. He said he himself couldn't believe that my stepdaughter found this sauce not spicy, and she must be faking. When we were back in the car, I told her on the spot she had no phone, TV, or computer for anything not school-related for the next 2 weeks, because she clearly did this to hurt me. She screamed at me in the car about how I'm not her mother, I was gaslighting and villainizing her, and that she wished I wasn't in her life. I told her that if she thought I didn't have the authority to parent her, then fine, I'll just let her father punish her. She started the waterworks as soon as she entered the house, and surprisingly, my husband flipped on me, saying that my expectations of spicy were unrealistic and that I couldn't prove that she really did it on purpose. Even when I took her electronics, my husband gave them back to her, telling me that I'm harsh and unfair. His daughter made several snide remarks, which he usually stops, but this time, he said she was justified. I told him that in this case, he was justified sleeping on the couch tonight. Am I the a-hole for grounding my stepdaughter over her prank? I'm debating between everyone sucks here and you're the a-hole. Maybe she genuinely thought it wasn't spicy and didn't know how you'd react. It's hard to say, but her laughing at your reaction was inappropriate. But also, she's 17. You said that you grounded her because she clearly did this to hurt me, but there's no evidence of that. Again, she could have genuinely thought it wasn't spicy, but you just assumed she was being malicious. So instead of talking to her about it, you immediately grounded her. My final verdict is you're the a-hole. You punished your stepdaughter without due process. You should have been the adult and talked to her instead of treating her like a child. Not the a-hole, and you and your husband need to work on being a team before this divide grows. Him dismantling your punishment and undermining your authority is a huge problem. He's a jerk, and so is your stepdaughter, who obviously knew what she was doing in the spicy store. Prank them back. Tell husband that you spoke with a divorce lawyer and explained what happened, and he told you what they did constitutes a criminal simple assault, and that he advised you to file a police report and seek criminal charges against both of them. Tell them that you have an appointment to go speak with a detective with your lawyer on Tuesday. Update. Husband came into the room and said he wanted to discuss with me. He looked guilty, and I thought it was for the yelling. Sure enough, he and stepdaughter thought it would be a fun prank, and just believed I was being a baby over the spice. He then saw how angry I was with his daughter, and got mad because she wasn't all to blame, but decided to just invalidate me rather than just come clean and tell the truth. But it backfired big time. He did apologize, but I'm just so hurt. I'm now at a friend's house. I'm still shaking, I'm so mad. To specify, my husband had a large part in this. He actually is the one who gave me the idea of the store, obviously, and gave me a huge lecture about how I should just go and let her have fun, and just try the least spicy. He said that he thought that if I could laugh at myself a bit, his daughter would bond with me. I feel so angry and betrayed. I've come to realize that maybe he's a larger portion of the problem than the stepdaughter. He's blowing up my phone now, non-apologizing by claiming he didn't realize I'd get so emotional over it. I think they've won. Update 2. He's now magically gone 180. I finally sent him a text saying I was not coming home for a couple of days. I felt manipulated by both of them. I've been guilt-tripped into this activity, and did not think I could handle being in a relationship where this is going on. He then said, I kid you not, that his daughter misled him into thinking this was a good thing for bonding, and that he'd reinstate her punishment if I came home. Honestly, I'm disgusted by that. I'm still certain stepdaughter has her own issues with me, but I cannot believe he's so quick to use his child as a bartering chip for our marriage. It makes me think that he knew we wouldn't get along, even if he assured me it would get better, and that he's really orchestrating a lot of the chaos in my life. I made sure he knew how grossly unappealing that was. I also sent stepdaughter a text, telling her that I was sorry for reacting harshly, but I thought it was all on her, and that was wrong. I also apologized for her being in the middle of this, but I still said that I was hurt by her part in it, because at the least, I've always wanted a friendly relationship with her. I was left on red and don't intend on contacting her again. I just feel bad because I don't know how many other times she's been weaponized by her father. Update 3. I'm having a spa day with my friend tomorrow, staying at her house now, and then after I'm contacting a divorce lawyer. What he's doing is anytime we get in an argument, he's giving stepdaughter ideas to make my life hell. He pretends to be calm and okay to my face, but then he finds a way to get me back. I'm over this. I'll also be taking my things tomorrow, but I'll make sure I'm accompanied by a male friend, so that I feel safe. Update 4. I received a text back from stepdaughter this morning asking me to come home. She says I've abandoned her and her father, and that her late mother would never have done that. So now the kid who's been trying to get me out of the house resents me for leaving. I'm like 90% sure that my husband found out I sent stepdaughter a text and is texting me as her. Needless to say, his panic to my leaving for a couple of days has been overwhelming and eye-opening. I've contacted a divorce lawyer already over email and hope to be calling later today. For now, I gotta run to the spa. Update 5. Wow, this has blown up. I have an update here. Stepdaughter actually, sure enough, was not sending me those texts. I took a small spa session, spoke with a divorce lawyer on the phone, appointment tomorrow, and then went back to house with a couple of girlfriends and a guy friend. Thank God I did, because he was trying to force me to stay. He even called the police on me and my friends. We explained what was going on, and of course we were fine. I also spoke to stepdaughter. She was mad, of course, but because I apparently told her father that if he took her phone and laptop, I'd come home. My husband was away for a moment, so I finally just went ahead and showed her the texts I got from her, which were sent after she had her punishment reinstated. She was freaked out, to say the least, and told me she hadn't even read the text I sent her. I took the chance to ask her about the car. Sure enough, my husband told her she could use it for the weekend, and then she was told that I changed my mind during the weekend, and then wanted her grounded for not driving it back immediately. I started crying again. I cannot tell you how terrified I was in that moment. I did take the chance to apologize to her in person and tell her that I didn't know any of this was going on, and that I'm not going to pretend we've had a bond at all, or even a real chance, but that she doesn't deserve any of this. She cried too, and told me some other details of the night before, and that this also wasn't the first relationship that ended similarly. But now she's realizing why, and in 4 months when she's 18, she's going to be gone. I let her know that if she needs some help getting on her feet and out of this situation, let me know. It wouldn't be as a step-parent, just as some help. I also told her what I told her husband. I'm leaving for good, and I'm filing for divorce. I'm worth way too much to deal with this. Do I feel bad for stepdaughter? Yes, but there's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately, at least until she's an adult. Update 6. I'm out, staying with a girlfriend now. I'm still shooken up, but I feel so relieved. I feel like a major stress is gone in my life. It'll take a while to get the divorce through, but we have a police report now in which I explained to the police what was going on, since my husband called them. I now have proof. I, 20 female, am the second eldest daughter of my father. I have an older sister, Vel, 23 female, a younger sister, Isa, 14 female, a younger half-brother, Tay, 3 male, and a younger half-sister, Jeslyn, nearly 2 female. There's also my step-siblings, Jinhee and Heejin, 9 male and 8 female. My father recently told us that his wife is pregnant again. When we weren't enthusiastic about it, he got upset and said we should be excited for another sibling. I said that another sibling just means more babysitting for us, and that it isn't fair on us. If he wants a lot of kids, he needs to be home a lot more than he is, and needs to put his children first. He's his own boss and he can choose what hours he works, so he has no excuse to never be home. If he is home, he's mostly doing the devil's tango with our stepmother. Vel and I have always been expected to be babysitters. However, due to my job, I travel for work quite often, so it usually falls on Vel. Vel is 8 months pregnant with her own second child and is already raising her own 3-year-old. He said that he works to provide for us, and I said that's fine, but he needs to be at home more. He doesn't need to stop work, but he needs to be at home more. I said I'm fine providing for our family as I have the money, so long as it means he's home more, because we would rather not be babysitters. He said that it's selfish to not want to help out around the family. I lost my temper and said he's the selfish one by having so many kids and expecting his eldest to just babysit despite us both having kids ourselves. He said we're choosing to take care of them, to which I replied we really had no choice because he was basically forcing us to take care of them, and if we didn't, they'd end up neglected. My sister literally has no life of her own because of this. She can't get a job because she can't be away from our siblings whilst I'm away for work. Otherwise, they get neglected. She can't have a dating life for the same reason. She can barely even see her friends. Our stepmother tries when our father's at work, but she's really struggling with depression, disability, and a custody battle with her ex over their 2 kids, so she needs our help. We're happy to help her because she genuinely is struggling, but is trying her best. He's just not trying. I said he needs to stop having kids until he can man up and raise them properly. He said he does his best, and I'm an ungrateful a-hole, and that I can start looking for my own place because he's sick of my attitude. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If you're gonna get more babies, he gotta take responsibility for them. Taking care of kids is the responsibility of the parents or legal guardians, not siblings. Your dad only loves to do the bedroom stuff and office. He ain't doing nothing around the house. Not the a-hole. This is none of my business, but perhaps a conversation about birth control options might be in order with your stepmother. Everyone is clearly struggling with the repercussions of a large family, so adding more children now isn't logical. I don't know where you are located in the world, but advocating for long-term birth control after stepmother gives birth may be a solution. Not the a-hole. He keeps having more kids because he doesn't have to deal with the consequences of them. And his wife is depressed and pregnant again. All of the women need to go away for a few weeks. Maybe it will help your stepmom to leave him to take care of the kids solo. Maybe then he will get perspective. Edit. Please stop saying to move out with my sister. She has a place with her friends. She just rarely stays there because of our dad. I'm also moving out soon, hopefully, to raise my son. My stepmother doesn't use birth control because my father doesn't want her to, and she'll do anything to please him. Second edit. I talked to my stepmom. She says she really doesn't want this child or any more. I told her I'll tell my stepfather and make it very clear. And if he doesn't listen, I'll take her to get a termination and to have her tubes tied whilst he's at work. Yeah, he'll be mad. Yeah, I'll probably get disowned. But I don't care.